Okay, hello YouTube and welcome back. Don't be alarmed. I know I look like 10 years younger. Lost a lot of hair. I do this, I shed a few times a year. So, it's still me, don't worry. And I need to fix this. Um, I am 9-6 at this point in our coverage of the Scrabble Players Championship, and I'm faced against none other than Ian Weinstein, legendary North American player, probably top three North American player for many, many, many years, maybe like 2 decades or something. Um, but yeah, he's just very strong, very aggressive player. Likes to score points and open the board. And yeah, I failed to beat him in the World Cup prior to this tournament, and I was again hoping to avenge that loss. So Ian goes first and plays QI for 22. Um, and I open with this rack, and I can either play Riff Flip, Flip, Fleur, or Riff. And I think it's really between Riff Flip and Riff. The reason you might want to play Riff Flip over Riff is just to get rid of the 2 extra consonants, even though it scores 10 fewer points. But the defense that this provides, as well as the 10 extra points, is pretty much well worth it, is what I judged, and I played Riff. This forces an exchange, which it will often do. So Iron exchanges 3, and I was ready as well to exchange. And this is my rack. Because here I kept PLRV, so yeah, PLRV HRN. So I exchanged 6 here, and I don't actually remember which letter I kept. I believe that I either kept an R or an H. I think I kept an R. And all the exchanges in these positions are always very, very close, and it's really just a matter of style, I think, what exchange you choose. The numbers are potentially decent to look at, but yeah, here I just kept an R, keeping the R for the riff hook, and maybe hoping to maximize my bingo chances. Next turn, Iron bingos with reunion for 64, which means that the U, I think, was blank. Yeah. Guess he didn't want to open. Yeah, he didn't want to open the triple immediately for playback. And here I played Troy for 31. I could also play Raiton or Hurry, but I judged that taking the best points and leave here was the correct approach. It is kind of worrisome though, because I'm sort of painting myself into a corner with this play. If I play something like Hurry, at least there are some things open, and Hurry actually takes a D hook, which might actually be useful. Does it also take a G hook? No, right? Just a D hook, I think. Yeah, Hurry is not a word. So I might have been better off playing Hurry or Raiton just to keep things open. Because yeah, like what do I do after Troy is the question. Like how do I come back? Because I will still be down by 30 points. But I think I had some plan, I guess. I don't really know what it was. But yeah, just maybe hoping to get an overlap on the 6th row. And just slow him down a lot and then just try and regroup from there was my plan, I guess. He exchanges 6 again, so this is the 3rd exchange in the game. And yeah, in this position, I played to Czar, and Rift. I could also play Tar for the same score. Interesting. Um, hmm. Wonder which play does better, because the Z is just a really nice tile to have here. But the H is probably, yeah, not as strong. Yeah, I guess I should have seen. I definitely didn't see Tar. I probably would have played it if I had, because the Z just has so much value, so much surprise factor value. After this play, I can easily see myself coming back just by playing one Z play. So yeah, interesting. Probably Tar. Same score. So Tsar comes down and Ein plays Aleph. And I draw into Varnish, which does not fit anywhere. And I play Var here. Okay, I was wondering which play at 12k was the best. So I think Quackle will be useful here to tell me which play to make here. I thought that keeping the N with the ISH was better than keeping the R. But now that I think about it, that might not be true, because the bingos I'm drawing, if I have an R in my leave, the RS combo is pretty likely to be at the end of the word, which makes it better to keep RS, because then my bingos will play. Whereas keeping SHIN, I might draw into more bingos, like more 7-letter words, but they won't play necessarily. Huh. But I thought that, yeah, I did think about this. And yeah, the question is whether or not to play Vane. I don't even know if I considered playing Vane. Vane doesn't take any hooks. Normally, you would just never make a play like this, because it would just open unnecessary scoring spots, but does open the N10 spot, which is, I guess, a concern. But the leave might be better overall. SHR and 2 more points. Or a comparable leave and 2 more points. Opponent next turn doesn't score anything more, because I'm already opening the N10 spot with the three-letter words. Okay, so this is a position where I should show you guys what I'm looking at. The details box. So Vane is winning the simulation by a couple of points. So far, I can't determine anything from this, because the number of iterations in Quackle is too low. It has only gone through around 2,000 games, which is not nearly enough to estimate whether a play is better or not. And even when I get to the threshold of 3,000, which is usually where I stop these simulations, that still won't be enough to really ultimately give Vane the check mark over Var, because 2 points is just not notable enough. I would have to leave this running for tens of thousands of iterations to even come close to determining which play is best here. But 2.5 points, I mean, it's likely that Vane is a better play, but not confirmed. It is likely that Vane is best here. So I played Var. Var and Van seem completely, it's crazy how close they are in the sim. So here, Bedu for 26 was played by Ian, not worrying at all about this spot. And I draw into this rack, CHIINOS, and I'm just like, oh god. This is a key moment. This is a turning point, a pivotal moment in my tournament, am I going to play a word that I am not sure of, that if I've seen it, it's only once or twice in my studies, and it's a French word, or am I going to chicken out? And I ultimately determined that Chinese or Chinois, one of those words was phony, and I determined that Chinese was the word that was phony and not Chinois, and I played Chinois, which indeed is a word. We can define it here. What does it mean? A cone-shaped sieve. Okay then. So I gathered all the courage that remained in me after such a rough start of the tournament to play a word that I thought was probably valid. And yeah, of course, Ian would challenge this if it wasn't valid, but he indeed let it go, and it is a word. So I was very happy that I had made the right decision, and I think it propelled me for the rest of the game. I'm now up 20 points. If I play something other than the bingo here, it is like so much worse. It's like 40 points worse. So yeah, it was a very important word to spot. Sometimes missing bingos isn't a huge deal, but in this case it definitely was. So here I played Yints, just like, okay, Ian, if you wanna dance, let's just dance. I'll just make what I think is the strongest equity play every turn. Equity being points plus leave, and see where it goes. Of course, you get burned for doing that sometimes, and now Ian is up 10 points after I gave him a very big spot for his X. So slightly concerned by that, but I keep going. I play Jut for 36. Ian follows up with Keg for 33, so he's keeping his tempo advantage. I draw 3 consonants, which was nice, and ooh, I missed this really cool word of Lensman. Wow. I end up playing Mel, which is a very, very aggressive play. I'm like proud of myself for how aggressive it is. But I definitely don't need to do anything like this. But I thought that keeping the PENS sleeve, if I draw a bingo, it's likely to fit on the 14 row, and also potentially it will fit on the 5 row. So I was like, let's go, let's do this, let's make an Ian play against Ian. Lensman, notably, is not actually winning the simulation because it gets rid of all my good letters and leaves me open for business. If Ian has one of the last 2 remaining S's, he'll probably bingo before me. So I did miss Lensman. I don't know if I would have played it, but it's a lot of points. And yeah, I draw extremely well. I draw an S and a blank. You don't see this yet, but after a while, Ian plays Gat for 20. Not a play I'm sure he was happy to make because he likes leaving things open. But yeah, it didn't matter because I drew just insanely well. I was all ready to play penises. Double at 5E, but misspend is good enough for me. 89 points. And then this game gets a bit ridiculous because Ian takes the triple here with clipped, and I draw immediately into a very, very sick 7-letter word that actually fits on this board, umbrage, and now the game is just totally over. And here, Ian plays HAE. And yeah, I draw the last remaining S, so I'm really not super worried about bingos, but I take my time here to consider what he might have. I see that he can have audited and drift, And if I open something else, you could have something like deviate or oddity. So the play that I was considering of WO is not going to do because it opens a spot. Although it does block audited, it opens a spot for oddity at C1. So I ultimately decided to play Jiao to set up my L and my S. I didn't really see what I could draw there, but if I put in the rack here, ideated and audited will fit. I don't think I even saw ideated unseen, but I knew that I wanted to block this drift hook, and by playing Jiao, I allowed myself to set up my case letters and not give him a bingo back. So divigated. Where the hell is that? Divigated? That's pretty cool. As a possible play. That's from his perspective. So let's see if Quackle has any idea what my rack is here. It could be confused. But yeah, 16 versus Ian. Just gonna save the game. But yeah, I mean, I was feeling really good here that I managed to just, draw really well. Oh, this is not the play. That is not the call. Okay, so I think Jiao for sure has to be better than letting him bingo at sometimes. I guess if I want to put in, oops, the unseen letters again to see if there's something I overlooked. No, okay. But yeah, here, Doughty was played by Ian. He's trying to go out before me, and indeed he will. I draw into this rack, and I ultimately find ovules. I almost missed this play, but it's far and away the best endgame play. 9 goes out with Den. He had jowled for a couple more, or for just one more point. And I win 507 to 396. So good score for Ian. He bingoed first, but I just somehow drew into Chinois Umbrage misspend just out of nowhere. So happy to come away with this win. I didn't play perfectly. I think Tsar was a mistake, for example. And VAR maybe. Other than that, seems like a pretty clean game. So yeah, that was the first one. Let's jump to game 17. And this game is against another North American legend, Robin Pollock-Daniel. Robin had been doing extremely well in the first half of the tournament. Played multiple times on the top streamed board, and had a few tough losses, and I was doing decently at this point. I was 10-6, so the tournament wasn't totally over for me, but I definitely needed to make something continue to happen, basically, to give myself a chance at cashing. So definitely needed to beat Robin if I could. And I was first again. And Robin is well known for being probably the best woman Scrabble player in history. And yeah, has been sort of away from the game, but has been keeping up studying, which is very useful because you're going to find and know words very consistently if you consistently study and do aerolith every day. And she's extremely good at aerolith. She would study like up to, I think, 15 letters long words every day, and get a lot of them, and get most of the 9-letter words, and solve most of the 9-letter words, and yeah, solve the 8s and the 7s. So of course that's one thing, but then playing over the board is another, and she actually did make a lot of very surprising and sometimes even shocking word knowledge mistakes this tournament, which if you compare to her records on Aerolith on the studying website where she scores like perfectly, it's very difficult to understand how she could be making these mistakes. But the reason that this was happening is it's nothing out of the ordinary. It's just that it's a lot easier to solve a word that's in front of you that you know there's a solution to than to find it or know what isn't a valid word, and use sort of reverse engineering to figure out whether something isn't a valid Scrabble word. So if you study words every day, so many words will come up that sometimes someone will play a word that looks maybe weird, but you can't know for sure if it's a word or not without just experiencing that word getting played. And you don't study phonies. The only way to study phonies is to either play a lot of games and make a list of what phonies are commonly played, which is just very time consuming and is very one experience oriented, or just play a lot of Scrabble and just get in tune with what is and isn't valid by using analysis tools, for example, and drawing into racks sometimes where you just know that there's no word there. You eliminate the idea that there's a word there because you studied the game or you analyzed the game. But without that, just studying words is not going to ensure that you're not going to make word knowledge mistakes. So that is the long-winded explanation. If those of you that were following along were surprised by certain mistakes that Robin made, that pretty much anybody in the event could have made, save a few names. But yeah, anyways, I sat down to play Robin. I was first. I open with a very nice rack, Boozist, and I play Booze. I considered Bozo, whether taking 8 fewer points for the better leave and the better defense was worth it, and decided it was not. Robin plays Be Gloom. And here, it's the rack I draw into, and I play Stoolies for 70, high scoring bingo. Nothing really else, makes that much sense here. Of course, it's not ideal to put an E here, but any of the placements either just don't score enough or open similarly dangerous spots. So Stoolies was my decision. I wasn't sure if I'd missed something, but Robin plays Overt. And another somewhat balanced rack here. And I could play stuff here like Paked. I could play Pies, I didn't see that. But I ended up playing Dyke. And I really like this play because look what it does. It really just crunches the board into this shape. It connects two words. It connects the first word with another string. I guess the string that it created. But I like aesthetically when this happens, but also strategically, it's really difficult to like reopen the board. Of course, Robin could very much have plays and even bingos through this E, but this was a very, very nice play to just defend the board, and I was actually preparing, hopefully, a play on the I column next turn that would block the E and make it even harder to open parts of the board that were no longer open. Of course, this is a long-term plan. Anything can happen. There are many ways for Robin to just continue to score. She could score 70 points. She could even bingo with this S. She could hook an S to be Glooms. She could bingo with this T. I like the long-term potential this provided, but other plays also make sense here, and some of them I didn't even consider. So I play Dyke. She plays Gov, blocking some of the plays I could make there. And I draw a second P, and I decide to play Palp, which seemed like a good play anyway. It also just blocks scoring plays and bingos using this S, despite keeping not so well AAET. So if she does bingo here, I might be in trouble. But she does not. She plays Sag for 8, which blocks scoring plays to be Glooms. It seemed like an odd play, actually, for me, but I wondered if she was trying to block Begloom's plays, because if I'm able to score with Begloom's next turn, it's very difficult for her to come back, because she's already down by a lot of points and can't really afford to get scored 40 on. And indeed, I had a huge play of cats, so maybe I had some sort of tell that she caught on to, but I had a huge play of cats that was going to pretty much end the game. But now I'm able to just play cat for 12, block this T, which is the biggest threat left on the board, and AERST leave, just fantastic. I felt very good about this position. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, she plays Fa for 29. Just keeping the scoring pressure on, preparing her plan to come back, maybe trying to bingo through this E. And to my AERST, I drew RY. And here's where I made an interesting decision that Quackle is not going to like. I decided to play Rye for not for 10, but for 6, to block this E definitively, and force bingos to not score anything, and to play through this R, and probably open up a spot for me to bingo with AERST. Whereas if I allow a bingo through this E, if I just play something like it's the same thing as what's already there, and she bingos to this E, it's giving me way bigger chances of bingoing next turn. So I'm actually reducing my chances of bingoing by a lot with this play, and potentially creating some situations that are not like perfectly comfortable. But I really just wanted to go all in here and play something very defensive and basically give her one chance, play through this R and see what happens. But there are definitely scenarios where this does not work out. And actually, one of those scenarios does indeed occur. And Robin plays the word botherer. And the only thing about this word is that it is not valid. And I almost held. I really did. But I decided, even though this word didn't look 100% valid, speaking of making word knowledge mistakes, by the way, both of us, I think, made one here. After the game, she had no idea that this was phony. But I felt like if I even hesitated and held this word, and it was a scenario where she wasn't purposely phonying, I felt like the chances of her purposely phonying with botherer were slim to none. Maybe I'm not giving her enough credit, but if she wasn't purposely phoning with botherer, my next play is just very, very self-explanatory. So she plays botherer and I play a stride, and she does not challenge. But if she did challenge a stride, she would be ahead by 4, and she would have to try and ensure that I don't bingo with this rack. And actually, with the rack I had, the only bingo is tardies, and she could potentially block that bingo or keep a rack that bingos through it and win the game. So I'm extremely lucky that Robin wasn't doubting her word at all. I didn't think she was, but she could have been. And that I decided not to doubt her word, because this was a huge turning point. And when I learned that bother was not a word, I was like, oh my God, I blew this game. But it gave me a bingo. I didn't have a bingo through the R. That was me queuing in ADEIRRST. And so her play actually gave me just the win, pretty much. If she doesn't challenge this, I win. But just happens to be that this word bother, which could very much be a word, is not valid. So yeah, double blindness there. Though I will say that bother looked sort of like, oh, what if she's phonying? This would be really bad, kind of. But I didn't want to think about it, and I think I was better for having not thought about it, because maybe if I had thought about it, she would have thought about it. Of course, there's still ways for her to come back here if she has something like grammar I, or just I draw really poorly and she's able to make something happen. So she plays cutie. She's obviously playing on. There's no resigning here. I play inocula just to take out this triple and score as much as possible, get rid of my 1-point tiles. She plays rhino, and she's still in the game. But it's going to be hard. I play Fee, try to block a lot of stuff here, leaving her with this T to bingo through if she can, but still leaving me in a very, very, very comfortable position, I would say. She plays Jane for 27. Okay, not where I thought. She plays Jane down there. And I draw very well, and finally, ultimately end the game with nitrated. 72. And yeah, she just plays windy or windy. And I draw the blank. Second blank. There's one in the bag. And I decide just to play mucks. I didn't see any bingos she could have. So I was just trying to determine what the best play here was. There are lots of options that are available. If I save this, 17 versus Robin. If I generate choices, ton of things that I could consider. Of course, my desire here is to make a play that scores well and goes out next turn, which there are a decent amount of, but I think by playing, I wanted to play Magus actually, but I decided to play Mux. So by playing Yags, what's the idea? I guess because I'm blocking a lot of her plays. But I don't think that makes any sense. Yeah. Quackle is just on drugs. I just don't understand. Quackle's pre-endgame and endgame used to be better. Then they updated something, and I don't know. It's just not working. So I draw the W. So this is her rack. She plays Cider for 28 through this D. I was thinking she was going to play Lyric, which is 9 points better than Cider. But the reason that Cider is such a bad play is because it gives me a 5-letter word, which I chickened out of. Gauzy is a word, scores 36 points. Instead, I play wages, which Cider only turns out to be a 2-point mistake because I played wages. Just chickened out of Gauzy because what's the word in Gauzier? It's earwigs, and I knew that. So I thought maybe Gauzy would be Collins only, but it's just an adjective that doesn't compare in the NWL lexicon. And yeah, I was upset to have chickened out on that. And also when I determined that bother was phony, I was like, wow, I really thought I had this game under control. And of course, if you're looking on, it looks like I did, but anything could have happened. She could have definitely challenged a stride, thinking that maybe her only chance to win was if somehow bother wasn't a word. But lucky for me, I escaped, and I won 461 to 334, bringing my record to 11-6, and feeling like maybe I had a chance to do well. Maybe I was coming back, and maybe things weren't going to go so terribly for the next 14 games. So yeah, that's that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.